I told the doctor, she dies, you die. I said, I don't mean to be like that. And I don't mean to threaten you because I'm a good person. But Doc, if she dies, you die.
The family had been open with fans about Beth's battle with cancer over the last few years.
It's just like hearing someone telling you that you're going to die.
The world of Dog the Bounty Hunter was built on high-risk captures. Week after week, viewers watched the team chase fugitives and overcome impossible odds. But once the cameras stopped rolling, many of those familiar faces found themselves facing battles far more devastating than anything seen on television.
There's been a problem for a year with Barbara and her personal life.
For Beth Chapman, late wife of Dwayne Chapman, star of Dog the Bounty Hunter and other reality TV shows. Beth Chapman died of cancer yesterday at age 51.
From heartbreaking deaths and life-changing accidents to serious legal troubles, their stories took unexpected turns that few fans could have imagined. So who are the cast members who tragically passed away? And what tragedies did they face after becoming part of Dog's team? Join us as we uncover the 10 beloved Dog the Bounty Hunter cast members who tragically passed away. Number 10. Barbara Katie Chapman. Barbara's story was one of the most heartbreaking tragedies the Chapman family has ever faced. Although she was not a regular member of Dog the Bounty Hunter, she was Dwayne's daughter and remained an important part of the family's life. Born to Dwayne Chapman and his former wife, Ann Tegnell, Barbara largely stayed out of the television spotlight. Her life, however, was cut tragically short before the Chapman family became one of reality television's most recognizable names. On May 19, 2006, Barbara was traveling in an SUV near Fairbanks, Alaska, when the driver, her boyfriend, Scott Standifer, lost control of the vehicle. The SUV rolled over, throwing both Barbara and the driver into the trees because neither was wearing a seatbelt. Authorities later determined that alcohol was a contributing factor in the crash. Barbara died at the scene from her injuries. She was just 23 years old. The timing of her death made it even more devastating. Barbara died only one day before Dwayne and Beth were scheduled to be married in Hawaii. Instead of celebrating what should have been one of the happiest moments of their lives, the family was suddenly forced to grieve an unimaginable loss. After much reflection, Dwayne and Beth decided to go ahead with the wedding, believing Barbara would have wanted them to continue with the ceremony rather than postpone it. Throughout the day, they paid tribute to her and kept her memory at the center of the celebration. Although Barbara never had the opportunity to become part of the family's television success, her memory has remained an important part of the Chapman family's story, and her tragic death continues to be remembered by longtime fans of the franchise. Barbara's death left a wound that never fully healed, but years later, another devastating loss came that changed their lives forever. Number 9. Beth Chapman. Beth was known for charging into dangerous situations without hesitation, but the toughest battle of her life could not be solved with a pair of handcuffs. As co-owner of Dawkeen Bail Bonds and the heart of Dog the Bounty Hunter, she became one of reality television's most recognizable personalities. Her bold personality and fearless approach to fugitive recovery made her a fan favorite and an essential part of the Chapman family's success. In September 2017, Beth's life changed when doctors diagnosed her with stage 2 throat cancer after discovering a tumor in her throat. She underwent a lengthy 13-hour surgery to remove the cancer, and the procedure was considered successful. A few months later, the family announced that she was cancer-free, giving hope that she had overcome the disease. Unfortunately, that victory was short-lived. In November 2018, Beth was rushed into emergency surgery after doctors found that the cancer had returned. This time, it had advanced to stage 4 and was far more aggressive. Although doctors discussed treatment options, Beth made it clear that she wanted to continue living life on her own terms while fighting the disease. Rather than stepping away from work, Beth continued filming Dogs Most Wanted, participating in bounty hunts whenever her health allowed. Viewers watched her determination firsthand as she refused to let cancer define her final months. In June 2019, her condition rapidly deteriorated after she experienced severe breathing difficulties. She was admitted to Queen's Medical Center in Honolulu, where doctors placed her in a medically induced coma in an effort to ease her pain and stabilize her condition. On June 26, 2019, Beth tragically passed away from complications of throat cancer at the age of 51. Her death marked one of the most heartbreaking moments in the history of the Chapman family. However, years after losing Beth, the Dog family faced another unexpected tragedy. Number 8. David Robinson. David joined the Chapman team at a time when they were facing some of the hardest moments of their lives. As an experienced bounty hunter with years in the profession, he became part of Dogs Most Wanted in 2019. He worked alongside Dwayne and Beth Chapman during dangerous fugitive captures across the country. While he was a newer addition to the television franchise, David quickly earned the respect of the team through his professionalism and willingness to take on demanding assignments. His appearances also coincided with Beth's public battle against stage 4 throat cancer, placing him at the center of one of the most emotional periods in the family's history. Unlike many reality television personalities, David largely stayed away from drama and focused on the work itself. However, tragedy struck on November 30th, 2022, when David died unexpectedly at the age of 50. According to his former wife, he suffered a sudden medical emergency while speaking on a work-related phone call. Emergency responders attempted to revive him, but their efforts were unsuccessful. While an official cause of death was not immediately released, his former wife revealed that David had previously dealt with heart-related health issues, and several reports later linked his death to complications from a heart condition. David's sudden death became another painful loss for the extended Dog television family. Only a few years after Beth's passing, his death was heartbreaking, but the life of the man who built the team was faced with devastating setbacks and life struggles. Number 7. Dwayne Dog Chapman. One decision changed the course of Dwayne Dog Chapman's life long before he became television's most famous bounty hunter. In 1976, at just 23 years old, Dwayne was involved in a drug deal in Pampa, Texas, that ended in tragedy when his friend accidentally shot and killed 69-year-old Jerry Oliver. Although Dwayne did not fire the fatal shot, he was carrying a gun and was present during the robbery. Under Texas law at the time, he was convicted of first-degree murder as an accomplice and sentenced to 5 years in prison. He ultimately served about 18 months before being released on parole. Dwayne has often said that his experience behind bars changed his outlook, explaining that a fellow inmate and a prison official encouraged him to pursue a career in capturing fugitives instead of living outside the law. Nearly 3 decades later, Dwayne became an international headline story after tracking down convicted serial rapist Andrew Luster, the heir to the Max Factor Cosmetics fortune, who had fled to Mexico while awaiting sentencing. Dwayne, his son Leland Chapman, and fellow bounty hunter Tim Chapman captured Andrew Luster in Puerto Vallarta in 2003. But the operation led to unexpected legal trouble. Because bounty hunting is prohibited under Mexican law, the 3 men were arrested after returning to the United States and faced extradition proceedings. The case stretched on for years before Mexican authorities eventually dismissed the charges in 2007, allowing Dwayne to avoid extradition and continue filming Dog the Bounty Hunter. His greatest personal loss came in June 2019, when his wife and longtime partner, Beth Chapman, died at the age of 51. Her death left him devastated, and he openly admitted that adjusting to life without her was one of the hardest experiences he had ever faced. Just months later, Dwayne was hospitalized after suffering severe chest pain. Doctors diagnosed him with a pulmonary embolism and other heart-related problems, warning that he faced a high risk of another serious medical event if he did not make significant lifestyle changes. Despite those setbacks, Dwayne remained active in bounty hunting and public appearances, determined to carry on the legacy he and Beth had built together. However, while Dwayne's life was shaped with struggles, his son also faced battles that tested him just as much. Number 6. Leland Chapman. Leland's life was shaped by challenges long before television audiences knew his name. Born in 1976, he experienced a difficult childhood after his parents separated. During his early teens, he struggled with behavioral problems, joined a gang, and spent time in foster care and juvenile detention. Those experiences could have sent his life in a very different direction, but after his release, Leland chose to work alongside his father in the bail bond business. There, he developed the skills that eventually made him one of the most respected bounty hunters on the team. It did not end there. His biggest test came in 2003 after joining Dwayne and Tim Chapman in tracking down convicted serial rapist Andrew Luster. Leland was arrested along with Dwayne and Tim after returning to the United States and spent years facing the possibility of extradition. The case finally ended in 2007 when Mexico dismissed the charges, but years later, Leland faced another major setback while doing the work that had defined his career. In 2022, he tore his ACL, a major ligament in his knee, while chasing a suspect, Edward Morales. The injury required surgery and months of rehabilitation, which kept him out of action. Throughout his recovery, he kept fans updated on his progress and eventually returned to bounty hunting. While Leland overcame one challenge after another, one of Dog's closest partners faced a turbulent journey as well. Number 5. Tim Chapman. Before reality television made Tim Chapman a familiar face, he had already built years of experience in the bail bond industry and developed a close friendship with Dwayne. That eventually led to his role on Dog the Bounty Hunter. His professionalism and confidence made him a key part of many successful fugitive captures throughout the series. He was also arrested alongside Dwayne and Leland after returning to the United States and spent several years fighting extradition. But Tim's legal troubles did not end there. In 2008, he was arrested in Honolulu after police accused him of indecent exposure in a public parking lot. Tim denied any criminal intent, explaining that he had simply been changing clothes after a day at the beach. Prosecutors later dismissed the case after determining there was insufficient evidence to move forward, ending the matter without a conviction. Although he gradually stepped away from television in the years that followed, he continued working in the bail bond industry and remained respected by fans as one of the original bounty hunters who helped make Dog the Bounty Hunter a success. But not every member of Dog's family fought the same battles. Lisa's struggles began long before viewers ever met her. Number 4. Lisa, baby Lisa Chapman. Lisa grew up in the spotlight, but much of her hardest journey happened away from the television cameras. As one of Dwayne and Beth Chapman's daughters, she became a familiar face on Dog the Bounty Hunter, helping track down fugitives while earning the nickname Baby Lisa because she shared the same name as her mother. Behind her tough image, however, she was dealing with challenges that began long before the show became a hit. Lisa has spoken candidly about having a difficult childhood and making life-changing decisions at a young age. She became a mother at just 15 years old, and later revealed that she struggled with substance abuse during her teenage years. Determined to create a better future for herself and her daughter, she eventually overcame her addiction and became involved in the family's bail bond business, where viewers watched her grow into a capable bounty hunter alongside Dwayne and Beth. Her personal struggles continued into adulthood. Lisa has publicly shared that she survived abusive relationships and endured domestic violence. In 2011, she was arrested in Honolulu following a domestic dispute involving her then-partner. She also faced charges that included criminal property damage and assault. According to CBS, police said at that time that alcohol was a factor and that she was combative with police. Losing Beth to throat cancer in 2019 was another devastating blow. Lisa often described Beth as far more than a stepmother, saying she was one of the strongest influences in her life. Although she has occasionally been involved in public disagreements with members of the Chapman family, Lisa has largely stepped away from bounty hunting and reality television, choosing instead to focus on her family and business ventures. While Lisa fought to rebuild her life, another member of Dog's team faced a tragedy no one saw coming. Number 3. Justin Youngblood Bihag. Justin Youngblood Bihag was one of the youngest members of Dwayne Chapman's bounty hunting team. He was nicknamed Youngblood because of his age when he joined the crew, and he became known for his willingness to take on dangerous fugitive captures. Throughout Dog the Bounty Hunter, he appeared in numerous high-risk operations, earning the respect of both his teammates and viewers. Sadly, his life took a devastating turn in 2007 when he was involved in a serious traffic accident that left him with catastrophic injuries. The damage to one of his legs was so severe that doctors were forced to perform an above-the-knee amputation in an effort to save his life. The accident required multiple surgeries, rehabilitation, and a complete adjustment to daily life. The accident ended his ability to continue bounty hunting as he once had, and he found himself adapting to life with a prosthetic leg. In January 2020, Justin found himself in legal trouble after he was arrested in Edgewater, Colorado, on suspicion of violating the terms of a court order linked to his probation. Police reportedly visited his home after receiving a tip that he had been using alcohol and marijuana, despite being prohibited from doing so. According to reports, officers said they detected the smell of alcohol and observed signs of marijuana use at the residence before taking Justin into custody. However, he was later released on bond, and reports stated that he contacted Dwayne Dog Chapman by phone during the incident. The arrest generated significant attention because the information that led police to Justin reportedly came from Lisa Chapman, adding another layer of public drama to the extended Chapman family's story. The next person on the list had the hardest chapter of her life, beginning with a heartbreaking loss. Number 2. Cecily Chapman. For Cecily, the most difficult chapter of her life began after losing her mother, Beth Chapman, in June 2019. While viewers knew Cecily from her appearances on Dog the Bounty Hunter, Dog and Beth, On the Hunt, and Dog's Most Wanted, she continued to mourn the woman she considered her greatest source of strength. In the months following Beth's death, Cecily regularly shared memories of her mother and began raising awareness about throat cancer. However, Cecily soon found herself making headlines for a different reason. In January 2020, she was arrested in Hawaii after police responded to reports of a vehicle stopped in the roadway. Officers suspected she was driving under the influence, and she was later charged with DUI. The incident attracted widespread media attention because it came so soon after the loss of her mother. Cecily later admitted that she had been struggling emotionally during that period and acknowledged that grief had taken a heavy toll on her life. In 2021, Cecily was arrested again in Hawaii for alleged domestic violence. According to a police report, they were called just before midnight on July 31st in relation to an argument at a residence in Honolulu. Cecily's longtime partner, Mattie Smith, alleged that she became verbally and physically abusive. Cecily was ultimately arrested for misdemeanor abuse of a household member. Family tensions added to those challenges. In 2021, Cecily and her sister Bonnie publicly revealed that they had not been invited to Dwayne's wedding to Francie Frayne, claiming it was because their father was a racist. This led to a bitter and very public family dispute. The disagreement quickly escalated as both sides exchanged accusations through interviews and social media, exposing divisions that had largely remained private until then. Meanwhile, before the public feuds made headlines, one longtime member of the family had already chosen to leave it all behind. Number 1. Dwayne Lee Chapman. As Dwayne's eldest son, Dwayne Lee spent much of his adult life in the family's bail bond business and appeared in numerous episodes during the show's early years. While he was known as an experienced bounty hunter, tensions behind the scenes gradually began affecting both the business and the family's relationships. Those disagreements became increasingly visible during the later seasons of the series. Dwayne Lee believed he was not being fairly compensated for the amount of work he was doing, and he confronted Beth. However, Beth maintained that every member of the team had to earn their place and contribute equally. The growing frustration eventually spilled onto television, giving viewers a rare look at the internal struggles within the Chapman family. The situation reached its breaking point in 2012 during a heated confrontation that became one of the show's most memorable moments. Dwayne Lee and his brother, Leland, challenged the way the family business was being run, leading to an emotional argument with Dwayne and Beth. During the exchange, Beth questioned Dwayne Lee's commitment to the business, while Dwayne asked whether he even wanted to remain part of the team. The confrontation ended with Dwayne Lee walking away from the family business, and both brothers left the series shortly afterward. Although Leland eventually repaired his relationship with Dwayne and returned to work with him on later projects, Dwayne Lee chose a different path. He stepped away from reality television and largely disappeared from the public eye, rarely speaking about the family or the events that led to his departure. His exit marked one of the biggest turning points in Dog the Bounty Hunter, ending a long chapter in the Chapman family's on-screen partnership. Who among these cast members had the most heartbreaking story? What do you think about everything the cast, especially the Chapman family, have been through? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.